Hello, I'm State Representative Christina Hagan from the 50th House District. Welcome to Ohio in Focus.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Ohio in Focus, a program that brings state government to you. I'm your host, Mike Ditto. We have with us today State Representative Christina Hagan, who serves the 50th House District, which includes portions of Stark County. Representative Hagan, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Mike.
So you were here, a few months ago. You had just recently been appointed to the Ohio House. What have your last few months since our last interview been like?
It has been absolutely nonstop, to say the least. So we have had quite a bit of excitement in the past several months. Obviously, we wrapped up the budget and some other controversial issues since the last time that we've talked. I've sort of had the opportunity as a freshman legislator to bloom a little bit and really get working on policy that I think is important to Stark County and Ohio as a whole. So we've had the opportunity to obviously be working with our constituents one-on-one, but then also on the opposite side of the coin, on the policy side, really get some things accomplished.
So I always like to have members remind their constituents what committees they serve on. What committees are you on, and what bills are you working on, or what items are you working on legislatively right now?
Absolutely. I'm actually serving on quite a few committees. I feel pretty honored to be serving on our Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee. I've been recently appointed to serve there. About 3 months I've been serving on that committee, and the other three committees are the same as when I first talked with you, and that is Small Business and Economic Development. I also serve on Public Utilities, and I serve on the Veterans Affairs Committee. And I've also recently been asked to serve on the Advisory on Aging for the state, on the Advisory on Aging Council, and also on the Latino and Hispanic Affairs Commission. So.
There are a number of issues that we discussed last time you were here. Among them was that the number one issue facing Ohioans is jobs and the economy. Is that still the number one issue in the 50th House District for you?
I would say regardless of the economy at any given time, jobs will always be the issue, and absolutely jobs remains the issue, and I believe wholeheartedly that that is the focus of this General Assembly, and we're not taking our eye off of the ball until we're in a better state of economy. To
that end, you actually are working on a bill right now affectionately called Jobs Ohio 2, that dovetails off of a bill that was first passed back in January and February of last year. What does that bill do, and why are you co-sponsoring it? Well,
to be completely and utterly honest, I was a bit envious of my colleagues. I got to walk in the door 3 months after my colleagues walked into the door, and they had the opportunity to vote on Jobs Ohio 1. And serving on Small Business and Economic Development Committee, I sort of saw the opportunity there to work with the administration and work with the folks in that committee, and especially Representative Davila on Jobs Ohio 2. And more or less what that bill does is it's taking care of some administrative cleanup opportunities and really inputting the ideas from the first model in Jobs Ohio 1. So we're really progressing into the second model. And we're also looking at some exciting opportunities to do some things with small businesses, minority business opportunities, freeing up some excess capital, making sure that we are giving the opportunity to small business, since small business owners do afford us 2/3 of our jobs in the United States. And so that's an obvious no-brainer for us. We are also in that bill trying a pilot program with the tourism aspect, and we're actually having a tourism board. And the state of Ohio, in comparison to other states, does very minimal interaction on our tourism. And I think that this is an exciting thing for the state and the local level, because it allows for every $1 we invest in tourism, we see a 13, and this year we actually saw a $14 return for the last year's study. Wow. So it's quite an innovative way to think about bringing dollars and revenue into the state, but we need to start thinking differently, and I think that that is probably one of the most exciting parts of that bill, because it is talking about jobs and the greater impact of the hotel, lodging area, all of the jobs that come along with investing in tourism and bringing dollars into our state that haven't currently been spent. So obviously a jobs bill has many aspects, but those are some of the highlights I would give you of the bill. And we're in the very preliminary process here, just working through the bill, but certainly an exciting bill.
Now, you said you were envious of your colleagues who actually had the opportunity to vote on Jobs Ohio 1, and I believe the Jobs Ohio board issued a report in the fall of last year. How do you think the success of Jobs Ohio has been over the last few months?
The success has been monumental. Obviously, we've seen projects in all of our communities that had the opportunity to work with the different regions that Jobs Ohio has served. And we've seen a lot of direct retention of jobs, and then even further job creation, because we have that service agency reaching out. And again, a portion of that bill that I think is exciting that I didn't mention previously is the portion that changes our Department of Development to the Developmental Service Agency. And that is the whole intent of this bill, is to change the mindset of our state and really be reaching out to businesses and serving them so that we can bring jobs to the state. And this bill has done that. Jobs Ohio 1 has set up the footwork so that we can get that in progress. And the successes that we've had in the preliminary process are something to write home about, and I hope to see that in a magnitude, see those numbers.
You've been working on not only the Jobs Ohio 2 bill, but another bill that I think is still in the drafting process, the Fiscal Integrity Act. What's that one all about?
Yes, I've actually, due to circumstances in Stark County that we've seen with fiscal officer integrity, and obviously cases that have been duplicated across the state with taxpayer dollars coming up missing, I heard very early on in my term that my folks back home in Stark County were very unhappy with the dollars that came up missing, and then the preceding of results and what happened in trial with those certain individuals. Need not list any names, but obviously we have a lot to do as far as safeguarding taxpayer dollars, and that is the whole intent of this bill. The whole intent of this bill is to set up a safeguard for taxpayer dollars, and then more importantly, we're correcting the Ohio Revised Code so that hearings will be in the proper places. We sort of had our county commissioners in an awkward circumstance locally in Stark County, and we're going to take them out of that equation, put it back in the courts, make sure things are going properly and seamlessly. And then more importantly, we're dealing with nonfeasance, malfeasance, sort of correcting the issue, hoping to change what is currently a misdemeanor for the theft or loss of taxpayer dollars into a felony, so that we're really holding our public officials' feet to the fire. Because I feel if you're elected into a position, you should be accountable and you should be safeguarding taxpayer dollars. That should be the entire intent, especially in a fiscal officer position. So we're working really hard on making that a well-rounded bill with the state auditor's office. And I believe we are going to see probably the bill drop in about a week or two. So
good.
Very exciting.
So constituents can look for that very soon.
Yes.
Very good. There was certainly a lot of discussion in 2009, 2010 about the budget deficit that was going to be looming, an $8 billion budget, a structural deficit, and you've been working on a bill, House Bill 386, dealing with long-range outlooks for budget and forecasting at the state level. What's that bill do?
I will correct you real briefly, just
Please.
because it's 368. We had some confusion.
I'm sorry, 368. My apologies.
You're fine. We had confusion locally because we just passed 386 out of the House.
That's
and
right.
So that's why
Thank
it's on
you.
the mind.
Good question.
But
So 368. What does that bill do? I mean, and will it help with the long-term budgeting for the state?
Sure. 368's entire intention is to look at long-term fiscal stability in the state and actually do some forecasting and projecting and really looking at our numbers. We expect our nursing homes and our schools to do 5-year forecasting, yet
Sure.
at the state level, we're not really putting our numbers under a magnifying glass. The different agencies actually put the numbers out on a yearly basis, an annual basis, but they're not really put in an easy read document. What Representative Rogner and I had as a high hope is modeling after some states like Florida and other states that have really taken fiscal responsibility and put it at the front as a priority. We're trying to do the same with our financial outlook.
Sure.
And I think that this will not only afford us as legislators better information while making policy, but it will also reach down to our local constituency, to the communities, to the people who actually put us in office to make decisions. They'll see the repercussions of policy that we put into place. So I think it's a great safeguard, again, on holding public officials' feet to the fire, but it's also giving a tool to the locals to actually see what's happening in the state on a year-to-year basis, and that way they can advocate more in a focus level on what they want to see change and what they'd like to see stay the same at the state level. Plus, I think any good business plans for the future. We can't possibly think that walking into an $8 billion deficit, we should never, think of doing things differently.
Right.
We absolutely have to step outside the box. And I think House Bill 368, a financial forecasting tool to create an advisory board to analyze our numbers from an outside perspective, is absolutely the way to do that.
When you're thinking about the accomplishments of 2011 and looking ahead, what are you most looking forward to, either legislatively or back in your district for the rest of 2012?
Well, I would really, again, with the situation we had locally with our Stark County issue, with the almost $3 million coming up missing of taxpayer dollars, I would like to walk home to my constituency and to Stark County and say, we saw there was a problem. We heard from you very vocally that there was a problem, and we worked hard to resolve it and make sure that we do not ever see that happen or occur again, and not only Stark County but the state of Ohio, because there have been a multitude of issues very similar across the state. So we want to afford that education that there might not be that circumstance again. And to take it a step further, this job, or this office, has been focused. I feel like job is part of my vocabulary for the rest of my life. But this office has really taken jobs as the #1 issue and focus on that. We have 4 bills we're currently working on that are directed entirely towards job creation and creating a better business climate. With that financial outlook, we're expecting businesses to look at our state and say, Ohio's government is thinking differently. We're planning long term. We want stability long term, and so we have to have a better business environment, and we're getting there, and I want to talk about that. It's exciting.
Well, now that you've been here for almost an entire year, you've had time to sort of assess all of the busy work that you and your colleagues have been doing over that last year. What would you say to your constituents is the most enjoyable part about your job?
Absolutely the most enjoyable part. I sat in my office hours locally, and while some people may not enjoy that aspect of the job, getting to actually interact and communicate with the people that understand our issues the best is absolutely, without a question, the best part of my job. Being able to go home and talk to people about solutions that we're seeking at the state and things that we're working towards. I'm very proud to be a part of this caucus, and I'm very fortunate to be a part of this caucus because through my legislative experience and through my upbringing, I've seen small business and I've seen government very close. And I feel very blessed to see the direction of the state moving, and also to hear the chatter from surrounding states about what is happening in our state. And I think that being able to talk to our community about that is a powerful thing, and also to feel the opportunity to give them hope about our future, and that we are starting to plan and do things accordingly to where we can keep folks in my generation here, we can stay near our families, we can live in Ohio and have a good state of living, and then also thinking about bringing other young generation professionals into our state, because we should be an attractive state. We have a lot to talk about.
Well, and you and your colleagues all have varying backgrounds. Everybody in all 99 districts has a different story to tell.
Contrary to popular belief, I have ran a household budget for several years now, and I've actually worked as a waitress for over 11, 12 years. And I would say that honestly, having my ear to the ground in the community, working with people on a daily basis, I have known the heartbeat of my community for a very long time, and I've heard people talking about what they think is best for Ohio since I was a very young girl. And so my experiences, whether it be coaching and working with 20 students, or working with the parents, or trying to get them to a mature character position versus an excellent athlete, those are all things that I can attribute to helping me work as a legislator, because whether I'm at the table or I'm a coach or I'm working as an administrative assistant, whatever position I'm working in, I know that service has to be the center of everything that I do. And at the table, waiting tables, you learn to find solutions at the table, because you don't want to have to bring the manager into the situation. You don't want to have to bring the boss into the situation, and you want the business to run smoothly. So in my office, I don't want to have to call on the Speaker of the House. I don't want to have to call on the governor. I want to find solutions for my constituents in House District 50. And I think that I've learned how to deal with personalities and really understand that firsthand. And growing up in the business, I understand what it takes to run a small business, and I'm glad that I have the background that I have to do this.
We've got a little less than a minute here. What is the best way for your constituents to get in touch with you? Should they call, email, stop by and see you? What's best?
I believe in the power of conversation. Obviously we have a high influx of emails. I always say calling or sitting down with me is the best way to get something accomplished. And again, solutions are found around the table. And I know that we're a high technology world and that I, of my generation, should be emailing constantly, and I do, but I feel like we